Hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. In this video, I am going to give you a closer look at the Lilac Lenormand by Logan Townsend over at Larkin Legends on Instagram and YouTube. A lot of L's. Love the alliteration. Okay, so he sent me this deck for the purposes of spreading the word about his Kickstarter campaign. And I will put a link to that campaign in the description box below. And I did speak a little bit about this deck in the last episode of Three Girls, One Deck, and just how smitten I became with it. Now, I knew on receiving the deck that I was going to like it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have accepted it from Logan to show on my channel. But I think it was, I was a little surprised at exactly how smitten I became and how much I actually used the deck over the last month, given that, Lenormand is, I love it. It is also not my go-to per se. I'm definitely more tarot focused for the most part. So I just had a lot of fun with this deck and the readings that it gave me. So I do have Logan's other Lenny decks, the Black Salt Lenormand and the Pink Sugar Lenormand. And I gotta say, I love them all. The Lilac Lenny is my fave. I really love this deck. Okay, so this is a deck that, speaks to Logan's, his memories and nature and his, love of, the video games he used to play and the shows he would watch. And this just speaks to my nostalgic little heart. Like, even though I am not well versed in, The Legend of Zelda or, Sailor Moon or some of these other references, just the theme and the whimsy of the images are just really fun and heartwarming. And of course, the deck being lilac, which is, hello, this speaks to my love of purple, which is my favorite color. So it's just got a lot going for it that ticks all of my boxes for sure. Now, this is a modern deck for Lenny readers who might want to try branching out a little bit, or maybe you've already branched out from traditional Lenormand decks. This is a fantastic one to add to your, Lenny practice if you're looking to try a more contemporary themed deck. All right, let's get to the specs. So here is the box. It is this hard clamshell style box with the magnetic snap, which I am all about. And here is the back that you can pause the video and read at your leisure. So here's the guidebook. And I placed this sticker on here myself just to be able to tell front from back. So this does not convey with the guidebook should you decide to back this on Kickstarter. But this cover has a very, it's almost rose petal finish feel to it, and I love that. It's all about the little details. And this is it's a tiny but mighty guidebook. I mean, I think that Logan did a great job being able to pack a lot of information in such a compact space. So we have, just the basics of what Lenormand is. Are there right or wrong ways to read Lenormand? Can you use Lenormand with tarot and oracle? Which, in my opinion, yes, you can. You've got some basics here. And what I love about this section is that not only does Logan provide different reading styles or methods, he also provides an example reading to better illustrate that method, which is fantastic. And then we get into different spreads. He does a fantastic job of quickly summarizing how to do a grand tableau. And then I love this. I mean, he doesn't beat around the bush. The deck does have playing card associations, but he does not touch upon this in the guidebook because he doesn't use them. So then we get on to the meanings, and this is probably my favorite section in that, well, not only does he provide, keywords and alignment, so, the vibe, if you will, of that card, whether it be leaning positive, neutral, or negative. You've got the possible interpretations of the card. And then here, with each card, he provides an illustration note that talks about the inspiration behind the object he chose to represent each card, and, or why he chose to illustrate the image the way he did. And I just loved this so much. Now, I understand that there are varying opinions out there about, whether people want to know the reasoning or the intent behind the creator's intent behind an image or not, or their art. And I personally love that. Now, I do think that, the images and the cohesion of a deck, they need to be able to stand on their own merit. And then once those boxes are ticked, knowing the author's intention or the creator's intention is a fantastic perk. And then finally, he does provide some educational materials if you want to study more on Lenormand. So the Essential Lenormand, which, yes, I also recommend. It's a great beginner book. Emily Rose Divination, also recommend. This one I have not heard of, by Lisa Young Sutton. Is this the same? This actually might be, she has a channel, and I'll try to put a link to that channel below. But if this is the same Lisa that I'm thinking, she has an excellent channel on Lenormand. And then the Petite Lenormand Encyclopedia, which I have heard of. So excellent recommendations. Let's get on to the cards. So here are the backs of the deck. Very simple. Got this kind of wispy design. Now, Lenormand, we don't do reversals, so it's, neither here nor there that this is kind of a reversible design. And I still kind of like the symmetry of it nonetheless. And this matching lilac edging. Yes, thank you, Logan. I am here for this. This is fabulous for us. This is linen. This is a linen cardstock, which it just makes, I love linen, and I think it makes the shuffling experience fantastic, which you can shuffle this deck, which I'm not going to do because I have this in order, but it's just the cardstock is nice and flexible. And, for people who don't love the cross hatching of linen, it's just, you can barely notice it, in my opinion. I don't think it's that glaring or distracting. So we do have the cards numbered, the title, and the playing card association. Now, if you're the type of Lenny reader who likes to have the inset image of the actual playing card, then this deck won't be for you, but I don't need that for my decks. I at the very least just want the association somewhere, and that's enough for me. So let's take a closer look at each of the cards. So we'll start off with the Skater, also known as the Rider in traditional Lenormand decks. And I like that this skate is moving right instead of left. I have seen in some Lenormand decks where the rider is moving in the left direction, and for some reason that really bugs me. I don't like it. But most of the times, from what I've seen in Lenormand, the direction is like moving right. And for those who read directionally, that does make a difference. Love the nostalgia of that. And then we have the Clover, which I've got to say might be one of the top favorite clovers I've seen on a Lenormand. I love the little details like the heart in the center and the little ladybug that does lend to the meaning of the card. And yes, we know in Lenormand, clover is a clover, a house is a house, a ring is a ring. Absolutely. And these little details are still nice, and they don't overpower the main focal point. We have a boat, also sometimes seen as the ship, and it's very fantasy genre-esque. I personally envision like elven folk traveling in this thing, so I enjoy that. Got the house, tree. There is a reference for this to some, maybe it's a video game. I don't remember, and I don't have to remember because again, this is just an example where the image stands on its own merit and it still has that kind of cohesive whimsy that we've seen so far in the deck. So really liking this depiction. The clouds. So we have a crystal ball here, and I think this is a reference to maybe Zelda. I'm not sure. I do like how we see kind of light and a dark within the clouds, which depending on the position of this card in the spread, it informs how I personally would read the adjacent cards. So that is something that some Lenormand readers do and others don't, but I appreciate that the option is there. This snake, okay, I learned something new. I had no idea that there is a nickname for a snake called Danger Noodle. That's new to me. I love it. I love this depiction of the snake. And then we have the grave, aka coffin, seen traditionally in other decks. And I believe this is some alphabet from Legend of Zelda games, maybe. Like it's a real thing. It's a real alphabet in the scope of like some video game or something like that. You have the Venus flytrap bouquet. Love that choice. Knife in place of scythe. We have the besom, another kind of variation of the broom. We sometimes also see the whip traditionally in other decks. Birds, love the red cardinals. I see those a lot in my backyard, so I have a special affinity for red cardinals. And I believe Logan says that his dad loves red cardinals, so it was kind of an homage to him. The child card, depicted as a Game Boy. Fox. Now with this one, I gotta say, I was like, okay, this is clearly a reference that I don't know. I was thinking like Pokemon or something. Come to find that it is a mask from the Zelda games, Legend of Zelda games, and it's of a fox species that has like 3 tails. And anything having to do with foxes and multiple tails, kitsune, gumio, like anything of that variation, you've won me over. So so I do appreciate this one. We have the bear. I think the button is also a reference to something. I just love these little nods. And I think they're subtle and yet, still give it a personal flavor. The star, think reference to Sailor Moon. The wand in place of stork, also reference to Sailor Moon. And I think Logan decided to replace the stork because like he didn't like the whole like, baby delivery association that we also often think about when we see the stork, which I completely understand and agree with. So I was on board with this switch up. Okay, the cat, which takes place of the dog. And this is apparently in reference to Pokemon. Again, I just love the little detail here. We are seeing kind of the same kind of wispy style in the tail that we see in other parts of the images in this deck. So, tower, garden, mountain, really pretty. Crossroads. Okay, so in the guidebook, he talks about how this was partly inspired by Tori Amos's cover art for the single Tallulah, which completely won my heart because I used to be obsessed with Tori Amos. The mice, totally cute. I love the victory pose here of this one up top. I was definitely having a chuckle when I first saw this image. Heart, and we have a flower, the bleeding heart flower, to depict the heart, which is something new I've never seen, and I like that. And for the ring, we have a fairy ring, which I also like. Very nature-esque. Grimoire, more traditionally the book, straight out of some fantasy genre, definitely. Still the vibe. Letter. And then we have player 1 and player 2. So in place of the gentleman and the lady, we are seeing, gender taken out of the equation and being depicted by Nintendo Switch controllers, which is very, very smart. I like it. Lilies. So we have water lilies in place of traditional lilies. Normally, I am not a fan of faces on my suns or my moons. I'm just not a fan. And I'm not mad at this one. I gotta say, this one is kind of cute. So I'm not mad at it at all. Love this moon. So this is in reference to like the kind of moon hare, moon rabbit figure that's like, it's a mythical figure that we see in a lot of like East Asian myths and stories. So I love that. The key. So I think this was inspired by Harry Potter. The fish, making me very hungry for like ice cream. Anchor. And in place of the cross, we have burden, depicted as a Tamagotchi, which I never had one, but I hear they're quite the pain in the ass. So that tracks for this card. And then we have 2 extra players that you can add in to a reading. So as you can see here, you can riffle shuffle. So I want to end this video with a reading that I did using the Lilac Lenormand. And the question that I asked was, do I really need to bite the bullet and just get a new laptop over the weekend? Because I had been stalling, just stalling for as long as humanly possible. Then the final straw was I was in a virtual meeting and my laptop just decided to shut off, just randomly. And so I went to the Lilac Lenormand and asked if this is something that I gotta do, that I just gotta suck it up and buy a new laptop. So these are the cards that I pulled for 3-card reading. And again, there are different reading styles and methods. For this particular reading, I went from left to right. And the way I interpreted these cards was that even though I didn't want to spend the money on a new freaking laptop, the arrival of one into my life sooner than later, despite it chafing my ass, would bring me a device that's going to be more powerful, more dependable, which then ultimately will give me a sense of calm and a sense of peace, knowing that this is going to be a device that should last me over the upcoming years. So the answer to the question was yes, suck it up and buy a new laptop. Thank you so much for taking the time to have a closer look at the Lilac Lenormand. If this is a deck that interests you, that you think will add to your Lenormand readings, even your tarot and oracle readings, please do consider backing the deck. Once again, the Kickstarter link is in the description below. And until the next time, much love and take care.